So whenever you want to do like a quick overtaking, you don't need to fiddle around like sports mode or pull a boost button. Just tekan and off you go. We all know that EVs are fast and many of them can do 0 to 100 km/h in less than 4 seconds. There's the BYD Seal Performance, the Smart Brabus, and also the MG4 X-Power. Not too long after unveiling the upgraded Model 3, Tesla has announced the most powerful Tesla Model 3 yet, and it carries this badge. And this is the Tesla Model 3 Performance. 0 to 100 km/h, 3.1 seconds. Is it any good? Roll the intro. So what is a Tesla Model 3 Performance? Essentially, this is an EV that can deliver supercar performance in a sedan that costs less than the BMW 3 Series or Mercedes-Benz C-Class. And I know some of you have read the news and thought, wow, this is a crazy EV that can do more than 500 horsepower, but it is very different in Malaysia because our units are coming from China's Shanghai Gigafactory, and this unit delivers 460 horsepower and 723 Nm of torque. You can get from 0 to 100 km/h in just 3.1 seconds and up to a top speed of 261 km/h. The Model 3 Performance comes with a 78 kWh battery with a WLTP rated range of 528 km on a single charge. That's about 100 km less than the Tesla Model 3 long-range model. The Tesla Model 3 Performance is priced from 242,000 ringgit in Malaysia. That's 32,000 ringgit more than the long-range model. And typical of Tesla, if you want to change anything like the colors and all that, you have to pay extra money. By default, the white color paint job is free, but if you want to change to blue or black, that's additional 5,000 ringgit. This stealth grey color is an optional 7,500 ringgit, and that sexy ultra red color option will cost you 11,000 ringgit. And by default, you get the black interior, but if you prefer the white interior, that's going to cost you 5,000 ringgit extra. And of course, you can upgrade the advanced safety features. For example, to upgrade this to enhanced autopilot, that will cost you 16,000 ringgit. And for the full self-driving feature, that's going to cost you 32,000 ringgit. Honestly, the basic autopilot, which is included as standard, that's good enough for most people. For the performance model, Tesla didn't just give this a more powerful motor and then slap on some body kit and then call it a day. They've actually added track-ready brake pads which supposedly have higher thermal limits, and there's also adaptive suspension that's controlled by software. For the rear motor, it gets the latest generation drive unit to unlock more power and torque while optimizing for efficiency. According to Tesla, this is 2% more efficient than the previous Model 3 Performance. There are several notable changes to improve the aerodynamics. Unlike your standard Model 3, there's a sportier bumper design with a lower splitter as well as functional vents. The rear bumper also gets a redesigned diffuser, and there's also a carbon fiber boot lid spoiler. In fact, this performance model is slightly lower and the overall height is 10mm lower than the regular Model 3. You see this badge? This isn't ludicrous or plaid. It's simply to represent that this is the performance model and you don't get that dual motor lettering behind. The Tesla Model 3 Performance gets 20-inch wheels which are staggered. The rear wheels are wider, and that also means you can't rotate the tires between the two axles. And it uses purely P0 elect tires which are certified per Tesla as indicated by this T2 marking. The front uses 235/35 R20s, while the rear uses 275/30 R20s. The storage situation is not compromised on the Model 3 Performance. You still get the same boot and frunk, which is one of the biggest in its class. Stepping inside the Model 3 Performance, the overall interior feels very familiar. It looks like a regular Model 3, and you get this nice microfiber material with nice ambient lighting that wraps around, and you also get this extra carbon fiber finish on the dash, and of course these sporty seats which feels very supportive, and they did not get rid of all the creature comforts of the Model 3. You still get ventilated and heated seats, and this also comes with powered controls for both the driver and the passenger, so that's pretty good. And of course, being a performance model, you also get these metal covers for the brake and accelerator pedal, so that's something you don't get on the long range and standard models. I've said this before, I'm not a huge fan of Tesla's overly minimalistic approach. There's no physical stocks for the gear selector and the signal indicators, and you want to control anything in this car. I mean anything, like the side mirrors, the steering, even to open the glove box and to adjust the aircon vents, you have to rely on a touchscreen, which I find to be very distracting, especially while driving. Just imagine when you're driving halfway and you just want to do a minor set changes on the side mirror. Well, you can't do that. You need to use a touchscreen. So you got to stop the car and set it all up before you drive. And of course, the beauty about Tesla is its ecosystem, and this central display, the 15-inch display, is so fluid. It feels like a flagship tablet what you get from Apple. And speaking of Apple, this car doesn't support Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, so you have to rely on the built-in navigation that's powered by Google Maps to get around. But the good thing about this Tesla is that you can actually easily find a Tesla supercharger or destination charger from this interface. When you key in a destination, it will give you an estimated percentage of your battery remaining on the screen and even suggest you the nearest charging spot. So I guess that's great to address any range anxiety if you're driving an EV. So that's a nice touch. But of course, you can also use this interface to play YouTube videos on Netflix, so that's actually pretty cool. And of course, being a Tesla, you get a lot of fun modes like camp mode and dog mode, which you don't get on a lot of cars. So that's a very nice touch and very thoughtful of Tesla. Despite having so many cameras in this car, there's no 360-degree camera. You don't get that bird's eye view. So when you reverse, you only get like the rear and side view, and that's pretty much it. I just wish that there's a way to get the bird's eye view, because that makes parking so much easier. Speaking of cameras, when you indicate left or right using the steering wheel buttons, you do get like the Honda language view, kind of like the blind view camera on the screen. So that actually shows up when you indicate left or right. So I think that's pretty good. It's quite similar to Honda language, and I think it provides a wider view than your standard mirrors. Yeah, the Model 3, you need to use the buttons on the steering wheel. It's capacitive, but it has some haptic feedback to indicate left and right. And to do the gear selector changes like your park, reverse, and neutral and drive, you have to swipe on the touchscreen, and there's also backup buttons at the top to change the gear selector. Yeah, why you need to reinvent all these things? Come on, Elon. Over at the rear seats are pretty okay, but they're not as spacious as the BYD Seal. And as a person who is 180 cm tall, I do feel that the rear seats feel quite upright. You do get a rear screen to control the aircon or play videos, and you also have the ability to adjust the front passenger seat. One thing that's missing are the storage compartments behind the front seat, so you can use it to store perhaps a magazine or some reading material inside the Tesla Model 3 Performance. And since this is a performance model, you also get Track Mode version 3. So you can find this under the settings, under dynamics, and you can tap on customize, and you can customize how the car behaves around the corners. So in this track mode settings, you can actually customize and choose how much understeer or oversteer you want the car to be, or just set it to neutral for more balanced setup. And there's also ability to adjust the stability assist. You want it to be minimal, reduced, or completely off. And of course, you also have very granular settings to adjust the regen settings. As you can see here, lower regen settings can accelerate brake wear because you use actual physical brakes rather than using the motor to slow down. So you have that flexibility to adjust the regen settings. And of course, there's something called post-drive cooling. So supposedly, if you're driving this very hard, it will actually maximize the cooling system to ensure that the car, returns back to the normal state. Key highlight of the Tesla Model 3 Performance is its advertised acceleration, 0 to 100 in 3.1 seconds. So we did a quick test run in a controlled environment, and we got about 3.7 seconds. It's still very quick, but of course, admittedly, when we did a test, we have 3 people in the car, 3 adults, and the roads are a bit uneven. But I would say that it's very quick. It's much quicker than what I experienced from other EVs. And yeah, that's pretty impressive. And the first thing you notice is that this car rides much firmer than the standard Tesla Model 3 as well as the Model 3 long range. And of course, you need to take note that this rides on 20-inch wheels. So of course, you could expect to have a firmer ride compared to, let's say, an 18-inch or 19-inch. And of course, another thing to take note is that this rides on a staggered wheel setup. And the Tesla Model 3 Performance comes with adaptive suspension, which you can adjust based on the driving modes that you set in the settings. And in standard, for day-to-day drives, Yes, it's actually quite firm, which is something I actually like for my day-to-day drives. And while driving at highway speeds, Lukman, our videographer who's sitting behind, still feels quite comfortable. So it doesn't feel trashy at all. I mean, standard is just well balanced. And when I change to the sports mode, supposedly it makes it much firmer, gives you more engaging drive. I don't feel much of a difference. It still feels pretty good. Of course, I need to find an opportunity to drive this actually harder, more spiritually, to actually feel the difference. But overall, I'm actually pretty impressed. It's firmer, but yet it doesn't make your passengers sick. They still feel quite comfortable, and you can really use this for day-to-day drives. Unlike other EVs that give you different drive modes like Eco, Normal, Comfort or Sports, well, you don't have that settings here on a Tesla. So perpetually this car rides on like one pedal driving mode. But you do have settings for the acceleration. You have chill, you have standard and insane. So you want to get that super quick rocket acceleration from 0 to 100 in 3.1 seconds, you have to switch on to insane mode. And because this Tesla Model 3 is perpetually on one pedal driving, you know, I have no issues leaving this at insane mode, because you can regulate the accelerator with your right foot, because it's like one pedal driving. You just tap as much as you need to get to where you're going, and you know, it doesn't feel like over fidgety. I mean, you can just ride, you still can drive this very sensibly around town, even in insane mode. And with that option enabled, so you know that you always have that crazy performance on tap whenever you need it. So whenever you want to do like a quick overtaking, you don't need to fiddle around like sports mode or pull a boost button. Just tekan and off you go. And the Tesla Model 3 performance, similar to its other standard models, is still very quiet, because Tesla has used acoustic glass, so it's like double pane glass all around. So it really, you know, minimizes the noise coming from outside. So it's pretty quiet in here, as you expect from an EV. So even if you don't want to hoon around, want to drive it sensibly, this is still a very quiet ride. But you know what? I just wish that there's an option for you to add some synthetic sound, because after trying the Smart Brabus, that sound, right? I know it's gimmicky, but it does add to the experience. If Tesla can add like fart sounds, I'm pretty sure they can add some fake engine sounds. I think that will be a lot of fun. So there you have it. This is a Tesla Model 3 Performance. It's quick, and you know, surprisingly, it's not as uncomfortable as expected. Yeah, I expect this to be firm, because given that this is a 20-inch wheels and it sits much lower. But I think for a person that likes something more firmer for day-to-day driving, you want to enjoy driving, I think this okay. I kind of like this for normal day-to-day drive, because it's not overly harsh. It's just nice for me. But of course, if you want something more fun, something more go-kart-like, I think the Smart Brabus is much better. I feel that that's more fun to drive, especially with that engine sound. I know it's a gimmick, but it does add to the experience. But when it comes to performance sedans, well, the closest rival will be the BYD Seal Performance, which is a lot cheaper than this car, about 40,000 ringgit cheaper. But of course, that car, well, it is comfortable, but it's a bit too soft-sprung for my liking. Yeah, it's spacious, it's better for as a family car, but it does lose out on a couple of things. Like for example, it's not as fast. That's 3.8 seconds versus 3.1 seconds, and most importantly, the top speed. The BYD Seal tops up at 180 km per hour, while this does up to 261 km per hour, if that's something important to you. And of course, the BYD Seal has an advantage of vehicle to load, V2L. So you can convert that car into a giant power bank to do your camping, or to power some appliances during a blackout. The biggest winner in terms of charging would be the Tesla Model 3 Performance, because this car can support 11 kilowatts 3-phase charging, which is a lot quicker. And also it supports DC fast charging up to 250 kilowatts when you plug this into a Tesla supercharger. And being part of the Tesla ecosystem, it's so easy to find a Tesla supercharger or a destination charger right from the touch screen. And it's so easy to just plug and charge without messing with any apps or any charge cards. And you just share this car with your family members, and no problems with charging, provided that the place you're going has a Tesla supercharger. So overall, if you're looking for alright performance, well, the Tesla Model 3 Performance is quite hard to beat. And with a starting price of 242,000 ringgit, I can't think of anything that's much better than this for this price range. But if it was me, if I'm looking for a new Tesla, I still put my money on the Tesla Model 3 long range because that can deliver up to 639 kilometers on a single charge. And that's more than good enough for me because that can do 0 to 100 in just 4.4 seconds. That's plenty quick. And of course, with the new raw tech structure, I reckon that a car with lower power output will be cheaper to own in the long run. If you have a budget of 250,000 ringgit to buy an EV, will you get this Tesla Model 3 Performance, or the BYD Seal Performance, or the Smart #1 Brabus? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, like us on Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe us on our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell icon so that you'll be informed about future videos. This is Alex. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!